Yo, it's Bam Bam back with me. So I'm gonna give you the seven stages of spiritual alchemy, but I'm gonna give you the classic way, meaning I'm gonna teach you how they show you all the archetypes. But then after that, then I'm just gonna show you how spirit teaches me. So this is showing you how the Most High is showing me how to work with spirit to pretty much go through an alchemical process or a transformation. So, basically you're dealing with four different things. It's called Negrito, which is blackening. So Negrito is black. Black always symbolizes when things die, but it's not evil. It's in the higher state. It's just how things get manifested into the physical or to another space. But okay, Negrito is always when things are black. Then albedo is where it's the whitening or the symbolic process of rebirth, the soul consciousness. Then it's I don't know how to say that word, but it's the yellowing. This is pretty much like you talking about your solar consciousness. This is the development of the spiritual consciousness, right? Then rubedo, which is redding. This is basically when you go through these four different processes. The 7 stages will teach you how to get through these 4 processes with pretty much with ease. But if you want to, now I'm going to show you how it really works. Now I want you to look at that symbol in your mind, and I want you to just, imagine it in your mind as something that can move. Now, what it is when you're talking about calcination is as simple as this. You're breaking down old parts of yourself, right? And you're starting to, when you're breaking it down into different stages, or sets, and this is how you're starting to understand energy, right? That's what calcination. And what I mean is your emotions and your different bodies that are with you, but we'll get to that in a second. So all your different emotions, you're breaking them down. So once you break down the parts of you that you think you are, or what you think that that was really brought to you by society or traumas or whatever, then you go into dissolution. Dissolution is pretty much where you start to see through the illusionary self, or the false self, the you that was the projection. Now, this process is called separation. All you're going to do here is you're going to start to separate the different emotions into different archetypical natures. So what is an archetype, or archetype, or angel, or a demon? All these are different emotions that are inside of you. And emotional energy is frequency. So you're breaking down the different frequencies so you can understand each component of the frequency, right? So each component is teaching you, okay, if it's love, hate, if it's anger, wrath, if it's honor, if it's joy, if it's peace, if it's, you feel what I'm saying? To the highest vibration, which is ultimately authenticity, where everything is naturally in its highest state, right? Now, with conjunction, what it is you're going to combine those spiritual archetypes. So you're going to learn each individual archetype, like Osiris and Set being chopped up, and then you're going to put the pieces back together through magic. And so the magic is the alchemy. And so what you're putting together is the pieces of the puzzle for you to start to understand yourself, or put yourself in a harmonic state of being. So now, even through the different aspects of myself, do I resonate at a higher level because I know myself, each piece of myself. So as you go through these different stages in your life, you go through the stages where you've been broken down and you've been beaten up, and you went through these different experiences where you had old ways of viewing yourself. You started to see all parts of yourself, and you started to bring those different parts of yourself that you love and hated together, and understand that it was just different parts of you that had to go through those experiences to grow. So then you start to ferment. You ferment, or you're starting to go through a state where you're purifying yourself, and in this purification, do you start to have a spiritual realization, and then from there, do you go into what you call into the next state, right? Now the next stage, they call it distillation, but it's just another further process of refinement. So from here, what you're doing is you're ultimately refining yourself to be in a higher state of being, because you're going through the motions, or you're practicing, or what they say is you keep on repeating and going through those cycles. You start to learn how to transmute yourself into a higher state, where you're not going in the same cycle anymore. Now you're going into a higher cycle, or a different timeline. Now you're starting to understand that if I alchemize and transmute this negative energy into positive energy, now do I take myself from this level of consciousness to this level of consciousness? Now we're reflecting my reality, because things that I've had in mind is starting to be expressed physically. Now in this last state, do you have something called the coagulation. And what is coagulation? It's when things are congealed. And this is like when you're dealing with matter or something that it starts to have a chrysalis. So you start to embody all the archetypes, and all the archetypes, you become the divine embodiment, or malakuf, or the kingdom, or the divine archetype that has every single aspect in its nature, but balanced. Because you went through the refinement period. This becomes the chrysalis, or the Christ energy, right? So you start to obtain this balance. So this is what it's teaching you, is that these alchemical stages and processes was something that was necessary for creation. And if you think of something as bad or negative, that was a previous perception of you when you were in a physical matrix. But the more you start to understand that things go beyond the physical, now you start to get to where things become less materialistic. You see how that works? Even though it sounds like I'm saying materialistic, it's exactly what it is. Materialistic, physical. As you start to become less material and start to become more spiritual. You feel what I'm saying? So this is what the 7 stages of alchemy do. They transmute, or they transmigrate, or they upgrade the previous version of the piece of yourself that was new. Like if you came brand new, fresh smack into a game or system, right? You're the person that's playing the game, but ultimately you already know everything that can really happen in the game. You just go in through the experiences, because then you start to really learn how to become better at the game, but then ultimately get out of the game, because now all you really needed from that game was the memory. What else did you really need from it? You feel me? Because you ain't gonna keep playing that game. Eventually you're gonna put that game down. You feel what I'm saying? And when you put that game down, you remember the only thing you really needed from that game was the experience and the memory. Remember. Yo, Spam Mo back with me.